Hey there, welcome to Honors Integrated Science and your first homework assignment here. Tonight we're going to be covering metric units, metric prefixes, and metric conversions. So let me just go ahead and get rid of this right here so we can get started. So we're going to start with metric units, and if you look here, let me blow this up. Our metric units are not necessarily the ones that we use in our daily life here in the United States, but they are the ones that are used internationally. Hence, we call the metric system the system international, or the SI system. And the metric unit for length is meter. The metric unit for mass is kilogram or gram. And for time, the measurement is second. And we're not really going to be using a lot with electric current, but it's ampere. And in temperature, the metric unit is Kelvin. However, I want to introduce you quickly to the concept of Kelvin and the unit that we're actually going to be using. Kelvin was developed by Lord Kelvin and a number of other scientists, which talk about the temperature of an object. And when it's actually at zero, it's when there is absolutely no thermal energy in an object, meaning there's absolutely no movement in the molecules, which doesn't happen in our universe that we know of. And so this is a very logical system. It starts at zero. However, we're going to be using degrees Celsius, also known as centigrade. And if we look at, let's say, 0 Kelvin, so 0 Kelvin, that's equal to negative 273 degrees centigrade, or degrees Celsius. Notice that we don't have degrees Kelvin, it's just 0 Kelvin. Alright, so those are the units that we're going to be looking at. Let's move now on. Metric prefixes. When we're talking about units, we're going to give them prefixes to determine how large or small something is. And let's start with our base unit. This is a meter. It is a base unit. Other base units would be liters and grams, meters, liters, or grams, or any of the other units that we were talking about on the last page. So this is a meter stick. This is one of those sticks that teachers often use to point out things in classrooms, or if you stand it up alongside your leg, it goes up to about your hip. You guys all know what a meter stick is, so let's get rid of this to make more room. If we're talking about 1 meter, 1 liter, or 1 gram, we're talking about our base unit, so let's make that right here. A meter, a liter, or a gram, right here. That's our base unit. And if we're talking about 10 meters, or 10 meter sticks, we're talking about a decagram, because it's a base 10 system, so we move up in tens. So if that's 10 meter sticks, let's now talk about 100 meter sticks. We're talking about a hectometer. And if we're talking about 1,000 meter sticks, we're talking about a kilometer. Let's move in the other direction. 1/10 of a meter stick, if you can see right over here in this picture, this meter stick has been broken up into tenths, so there will be 10 of these on a meter stick. That is a decimeter, so we write that little d. And if we're talking about 1/100th of a meter, you can see this meter stick has been broken up. There will be 100 of these little units right here. Those are centimeters. And that's written centimeter. And if you look even more closely at this meter stick, there are little lines, in fact 10 little lines between the 0 and the 1. Those are each millimeters. Those are each 1,000th of a meter. So let's write that M. And then let's get rid of that title. To make more room. Never mind. Let's talk about 1 meter, liter, or gram. If we have 1 meter, liter, or gram, we have one base unit. Now if we have 10 meters, liters, or grams, we have a decagram. So let's write that as 1 times 10 to the first. That comes out to 10. 10 raised to the first exponent is 10. And then if we're talking about hectograms, we're talking about 100. That's 1 times 10 to the second power. That equals 100. So that's 100 meter sticks, or 100 meters. Finally, if we're talking about 1,000 meter sticks, 1 times 10 to the third equals 1,000. 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. Let's look at this on the smaller end here. 1 decimeter. We said that a decimeter is this length right here, 1/10 of a meter. We're going to write this as 1 times 10 to the negative 1. And that looks like 0.1 meter. So 1 decimeter is 0.1 meters. And 1 centimeter, right here on this meter stick, this 1 centimeter is written like this. 1 times 10 to the negative 2. This gives us 0.01 meters. And finally, if we're looking at millimeters, the tiny lines between the 0 and the 1 is written like this. 1 times 10 to the negative third equals 0.001. 0.001 meters is 1 millimeter. In the next slide, we're going to discuss how to convert numbers using the metric system. Metric conversions. The metric system makes it very easy for us to convert, let's say, 1 meter to 1 kilometer because it's a base 10 system. And this is a very basic, easy way to just sort of get started on how to convert if you don't know already. Seems juvenile, but this is how I've always remembered it, even since I was in school myself. Kilo, hecta, deca. Here we have meters, liters, grams, deci, centi, milli. Great way to remember this is kissing hairy dogs, meters, liters, grams, deserves chocolate milk. Kissing hairy dogs deserves chocolate milk. So you'll hear me say that about 1,000,000 times. And on the homework that you have, the first question says, how many grams are in a decagram? So let's read this as, how many grams are in 1 decagram? So let me show you how to do this. When we're talking about 1 gram, we're talking about 1.0 grams. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put 1.0 grams on here. So metaliters, grams is the number that we're working with. And so therefore we put a decimal right after that, 1.0 grams. But we are then going to convert it to decagrams. So very simply, we're going to move our decimal to right here. And so we can see here that 1.0 grams is equal to 0.1, and this is written decagrams. 0.1 decagrams. Let's do the next question. First, let me erase this mess. The second question says, how many millimeters are there in 1 meter? So let's look at where we start with 1 meter. Right here in the middle, 1 meter, liter, gram, 1.0 meters. So 1.0 meters is equal to how many millimeters? So let's go ahead and move this decimal to the millimeters. 2, 3. And our new spot for millimeters, or our new spot for our decimals right here. So every little hole or every little space we're going to fill with a 0. And so 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. 1,000 millimeters. That should take you through the first portion of your homework, pretty simple, and the next video is on dimensional analysis, which is taking into consideration another system, not just the metric system, so that we can convert between the two. Good luck, and I'll see you soon.